Views. I'm your host, Renee Kranz. In studio with me today, I have Father Tony Klein. Welcome, Father Klein.
Thanks, Renee. Good to be here.
Yeah, we brought you in today because we wanted to talk about seminary and education, vocations in the diocese, and a big upcoming event in June, which is the Bishop's Charity Fishing Tournament, which you've been a part of over the years.
Yes, I have. As a seminarian, you're kind of enlisted to the fishing tournaments, at least for not every summer, depending on your assignment.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the seminarians at some point are at the legendary fishing tournaments.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. So I want to start first by your role has changed a little bit. When were you ordained?
2020.
2020.
Yep.
So it's been 3 years. Wow.
Yeah.
And your role has changed a little bit over the last couple of years. And is it changing again in July?
No.
Okay, good. So will you tell us what your role is in the diocese and what you've been up to?
Yeah. I was ordained in 2020, was in a parish for 2 years. And
at
then
my parish, Holy Spirit.
At Holy Spirit. Shout out. And then our vocation director is a full-time vocation director and full-time pastor.
Right.
And obviously with Set Ablaze things, we know there is, a lower number of priests than we've had in the past. And so Bishop really wanted to be able to kind of leverage promoting vocations and fostering vocations in the diocese. Just it's a need. But our vocation director also likes pastoral work. He likes being in a parish.
Right.
And so what he said would be really helpful is to have someone help with more of the front end work of vocations.
Okay. So
doing vocations, like visits to the seminary, kind of walking with some of the guys that are, showing interest and just need maybe are kind of out in the middle of nowhere and don't have as much of a community, or even if they're not like out in the middle of nowhere, they might be the only kid in their class at school that takes the faith seriously.
Or in a 50-mile radius.
Exactly. And
Let's hope not, but it could be.
If that's the case, like to discern your vocation in the midst of that is tough. And So Bishop created a new title, new role called the Vocations Advocate. So that's what my work has been. So a lot of this year. So I just started that in July.
Okay.
So going to like the youth camps, just trying to build connections with some of the youth in our diocese and not at all manipulate.
Right.
I'm not the vocations manipulator, which is good.
That's good to point out,
Freedom is actually something like necessary for any vocation.
Yes.
But to at least like ask the question and make sure that people aren't being missed.
Right.
Because sometimes I think that can be the case. Because it's scary. It's scary if, like we were saying, you might be the only kid in a 50-mile radius that is taking the faith seriously. And so if you have any sort of inclination like towards even thinking about the priesthood, that could be a really scary thing. You probably are not going to want to like share that with too many people. It's a pretty vulnerable thing.
And parents aren't always even... or they don't always feel like they can even share it with their parents. So
sometimes,
yeah.
So that's kind of what my work has been. So I'm chaplain at O'Gorman High School. I help at the cathedral on the weekends, but then I've been doing different vocations work, working with some of the guys that have asked for applications, kind of walking them through the process and answering a lot of questions. So it is a lot of relationship type of work. And then our vocation director is still the liaison with all of our seminarians, all that are accepted between the seminaries and the diocese.
Right.
And they're responsible.
Right. You seem perfectly suited for this role, I would say, just because you're very much a relationship person, at least from what I know of you. So it seems like a good spot for you.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I think it has kind of fit well.
Yeah.
Although, because a lot of it is like things over the phone.
Oh, gosh.
I'm not as... I like being with people. I like talking with people in person. So it's an adjustment because not everyone lives close to me and I don't live close to everyone else. So.
And you can't travel to everyone all the time. So what kind of fruits have you seen from the work you've been doing, both as the vocations advocate and at O'Gorman? Because that O'Gorman chaplaincy is really important right now. So what kind of fruits are you seeing from those things?
Yeah. If you remember the story in Acts of the Apostles, when Paul is walking around Athens and he sees the religiosity of these people, to pagan gods, but he sees their religiosity. He's like, you guys are longing for something. Let me tell you what you're longing for. Let me tell you the God that you don't know about, that you're seeking to worship. I don't know. I see that so much in the world, but especially in young people. Young people who really are like hungry for like the desire to be known, the desire to like be noticed, to be loved and accepted. But oftentimes, because of society, because of our culture, it is kind of like forcing them sometimes into this like paganistic type of thing, like Athens,
Yes.
you know, where they're seeking the right thing, but in totally wrong ways.
Right.
And so I guess just seeing some of the fruits of seeing like the real generosity of
Right.
some young people in our diocese, that they do desire to kind of go against the culture. And it's hard, you know,
It
they'd
is.
be the first to say that it's hard, but it's been beautiful for me to see not only their generosity, but also like the generosity of some parents
Yeah.
to be like, yeah, like I love my children, but they're not mine. Like they've been given to me.
That's not easy for parents.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real sacrifice. And I think that's an important thing when we're talking about vocations, to realize that the fruits of their vocation could be, well, definitely will be, hopefully one day, vocations, whatever
Yes.
the vocations are. But
Yes.
that at some point the parents sacrifice and say, okay, Lord, like these are your children.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you see our kids at O'Gorman, you're high school age, especially because you were there over COVID a little bit ish. Are they kind of coming out of that? I know there was a lot of struggle there for a little bit. Do you think that's getting better from what you're seeing?
Yeah, I wasn't at.
That's right. Because it
I
would have been
wasn't there.
last July. So
So I was at Holy Spirit, like I got ordained in the midst of COVID.
Yep.
And then that very first year where everything was so new and different and fluctuating, I was just full-time at Holy Spirit.
Right.
Last year, I was also helping out at the junior high. So
That's
I saw
right.
kind of a little bit of like the hybrid where we didn't have all of the restrictions, but there were still like certain precautions.
Sure.
But I'd say this year, it's almost back to normal.
Good.
I would say if someone could walk in and for the most part
Yeah.
they would be like, what, you know, there are a lot of leftover bottles of hand sanitizer still around, but other than that, I mean,
But are the kids are they, and it seems like kids have been really emotionally and mentally kind of struggling. Do you think that's not as much the case at O'Gorman, or it's getting better? Do you have any sense of that? And maybe you can answer that question.
yeah,
and that's
because
okay
I'm not
too.
comparing it necessarily to then. I think,
Right.
I know in talking to some elementary teachers, because that is such like a critical time of formation,
Yes.
that they're seeing a little bit of, slower progress,
Sure.
Because of those crucial times where they weren't interacting as much with people, and it
Right.
was just kind of a stark thing. I think a lot of what I've seen with high school kids, I for the most part, I think they're
They're coming.
kind of
Good.
coming around and
Good.
yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
They're resilient, right?
Yeah.
All right. So are there some new things that the diocese is doing for vocations, especially with priesthood and religious life?
Well, we're doing a few. So there's a women's house in Sioux
yeah,
Falls,
yeah.
And it's a women's house of discernment, but just of formation, really. So a Lumen Christi missionary is living there, and it was kind of inspired, to my understanding, of someone who was in like it wasn't a sorority, but it was a very like religious type of a household in
right.
college, and saying how formative of a thing that can be for women at that age. And so she really desired that, I think, here. And so that's a cool initiative. Again, it's not
Yes.
you're not signing up for the rest of your life.
Right.
And I think that's something that's helpful, is like,
Yeah.
To have a real intentional time of formation, a structured life of prayer, structured community. And so that's been new. I think this year has been the first year that they're doing that.
Yeah.
And then Pope Francis has been calling for, well, the church, the Curia has been calling for what's called a propedeutic year. And so the last 2 years, and that's for seminary formation.
Yep.
The past 2 years, we've kind of been piloting it a little bit, and it's adjusted, and it's intended to kind of give a man, when he enters seminary, a year to kind of separate himself from just a lot of things of the world that he's probably attached to.
Right. Right.
And so they do things like, they have a tech fast where we give them a dumb phone.
Wow. What
and
is that?
Yeah, exactly. And they can like watch movies only in community. So it's meant to not let guys be like isolate themselves.
Sure. Sure.
And then there's some classes, there's some formation. They do a decent amount of stuff with the bishop. They serve for him pretty regularly. So it's been cool to see its development. It's definitely grown. So
Yeah.
it's been cool to see it improve. And next year, bishop really wants to have all of the guys that we have, all the propedeutic guys, in one place.
Right.
So right now they're
kind of working
separate in
on that.
rectories.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're working on having in one place at least one priest, if not more, to have a bit of a community of priests there too.
Right.
So I think they're exciting things. Every time there's something kind of new like this, there are kinks to work out.
Oh, for sure.
But I do think it could be an exciting thing for us. And then we also, something we have had, but has kind of been revived in the last few years through Father Haggerty has done a lot for it, Father Tom Hartman, is the JP2 Vocations Camp.
Oh, yeah,
and we're adding a day this year just because last year it was cool. And you could tell that these kids, I mean, it's 12 to 16, so it's a little younger.
Right.
But a lot of priests will say it was sometime in those ages that I actually really kind of seriously considered the priesthood for the first time.
Yeah.
So it is a crucial age, I think. So we added a day where I think it's going to be a fun, a fun time. We do a lot of really fun activities, but there's also just a great opportunity at the Abbey to kind of talk about our relationship with God, finding our identity in Him, and from that, what's the mission that He's asking us to
Right.
go on.
I think we all have to ask ourselves that. We haven't been doing that enough.
Right.
Which might be why we are where we are.
Exactly. We want to do, but we forget who we are.
Right, exactly. If you just joined us, we're talking to Father Tony Klein about vocations and about the upcoming fishing tournament, which I want to talk about that next. Did you go to any of the fishing tournaments before you were a seminarian?
No.
You did not?
No.
Okay.
I don't know if I knew they existed, to be honest.
I didn't either until I started working here. So as a seminarian, when you were going to these fishing tournaments, what was your experiences like?
It was fun. I mean, I'm not a great fisherman, disclaimer.
Okay.
I like the contemplative nature of fishing. I like kind of being out there. And I mean, Jesus chose fishermen, and so I think there's something we can learn from it. But it was really cool to be out with people that I didn't know. I got put in a boat with, some people that I didn't know. Go out. They would really kind of give me some of their fishing hacks. So I would really learn about fishing. But it was cool to see people of all kind of walks. I mean, not even all of them are Catholic. You know, they're just they're people that maybe are friends with someone who's inviting them to come, or they're friends maybe with a priest or something, but they're not Catholic. And, it's just people here fishing tournament, and that collects a certain
They're like, I'm going.
Yeah, exactly. So it's even in a way like an evangelistic opportunity.
Yeah.
Just I think for them to see young men that are desiring to be generous to the Lord in our culture today. But it was also cool to kind of band together as a diocese and say we as a diocese need this. We need priests, and priests need priests too. And so for us to continue to foster them. It was always a great experience. An early morning, but a great experience.
It is an early morning. Okay, so it's interesting that you mentioned it's kind of an evangelizing opportunity. So there's really, the fishing tournament is an opportunity to affect both sides, both the priests and seminarians who are involved in it, helping the seminarians possibly discern their vocation more further. But as you said, to give a new experience to the people who are participating. Did you have any specific experiences that you can point to, or what do you think it does for people who are there?
Yeah, I think for people there, I think it really gives them some hope. Most parishes have the poster in their parish, and they see the faces of the seminarians. But to actually meet a seminarian, to say wow, they're, for the most part, pretty normal.
Right. For the most part.
I don't know if they said that when they saw me. They probably didn't say that when they saw me. But I think to actually give the person real credibility, rather than just, they're a face on this poster. So I think it really does kind of offer hope. And then for me, I remember it happens right at the beginning of summer. And so you're away, we were in seminary outside of the diocese. And so you're studying, you're meeting a lot of people, but no one really from your diocese other than the other seminarians there. And so you come back and you're greeted in these fishing tournaments by people that want to support you and that are excited to have you return to the diocese one day. So for us too, it was a real gift to be I'm loved here, even though they don't know me that well. These people, the diocese knows us. But these people don't know me, but they love the church and they want healthy priests. And
Right.
They want to do what they can do to support them. So it was really encouraging to know we're not alone.
Yeah, for sure. So this tournament helps raise money that helps support seminarian education. So I don't know, does every seminarian take advantage of that? I don't really know how that works exactly. Do you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they all do take advantage of it.
Yep.
What does that mean for a seminarian as you're going through school? Because it's not a cheap endeavor. It's what, 5-7 years, or is it?
If you I entered right out of high school, so it was 8 years.
8 years,
because that included college.
Right.
For some guys that have a college degree already, it's a little shorter, but
Right.
it's at least 6 to 7 now,
Right.
especially with the propedeutic year. So it's not short.
Right.
And you're right. Often the education of it is not cheap. I mean,
Right.
And if you think about it, like you're doing the education at a private school, to get good philosophy. So we study philosophy first. We get a philosophy degree before we ever do theology, which some people are surprised to hear.
Right.
But theology builds off philosophy. I remember in our Eucharist class in theology, a majority of it, you have the John 6 chapter, you have like the sections on Scripture. But when you're actually seeking to understand the Eucharist, how can it look like something but be something else?
Right.
That's all philosophy.
Yes.
And so we do have to have a real grounding in philosophy, and it's hard to find good philosophy to practice. And because it's kind of a niche thing, then that education is more expensive.
Yeah.
And then there are also all sorts of things kind of above and beyond just the education portion of, and that's true with every school, room, board, things like that.
Yep.
But then we also have like retreat
Oh,
fees,
yeah, that's right.
Different things like that the seminary does, but is not free. So the diocese helps pay the seminary for those things for us.
Right. That's got to take a lot of burden off of you guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very much so. Bishop Swain would always say, I never want finances to be the reason someone can't pursue their vocation.
Right.
Now, obviously, there's a prudence in how you manage that and how you deal with that. But,
for sure.
We were very, very generous as a diocese to have the support that we did from people here saying, I really feel like I'm not manipulated into this, but I really feel like they want me to discern well and to not make finances a deciding factor.
Right. And sometimes for parents too, that's a big weight off of their shoulders.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I want to quick mention one thing, or ask you one thing, and then we'll make sure we get the dates and so on for the fishing tournament out there. Sometimes there's a misunderstanding of what happens at seminary. There's education and there's formation. So can you kind of explain the difference between those two so people kind of really understand what's happening there with the men?
Yeah. Yeah, when I was a senior in high school, I was going to visit the seminary. I was very afraid. I thought I was going to be greeted by just a bunch of very, very quiet, pious guys that would say hi as they walked into the chapel and walked out. But I showed up and one of the first things they were doing was going to play soccer.
Oh,
and
sure.
I was like, wow, you play soccer here? I mean,
I
love
can,
soccer.
I can do
play
this.
So I started to see, wow, okay, this is a place of real humanity.
Right.
And so there are 4 what we call pillars or areas of formation. One of those is intellectual formation. So that's our classes, educational life. But that's just one of the 4.
Right.
So there's the intellectual, the pastoral, the human, and the spiritual. And the goal is that they don't stand individually, but they eventually kind of all converge. We want to be integral beings.
Right.
So in seminary, obviously most people think, okay, you're going to classes to learn how to be a priest.
Right.
And that is, if you look at the schedule, a pretty heavy portion of, class work and things like that, which is very important. But that's just one of the 4 areas.
Right.
And so it's really important. And the propedeutic year is meant to really kind of, before you get to that, really focus on a couple of the other areas, but especially human formation and spiritual formation, so that the human being is actually formed well to be able to receive these studies.
Right.
Because sometimes people, can say, Father, I think, I need to do this or that, or I think I'm having a difficult time praying and for this reason or that reason. And I'm like, I think people are just tired. I just don't think people sleep.
Right.
And that's a very human thing.
Yes.
And so I think just our human formation, grace assumes nature. It perfects what is already laid in nature. So if our human nature is already living well, then all the better soil we have for the divine life
Yeah.
to like grow in us.
Yeah.
So we have conferences about human formation, spiritual formation, a lot of learning how to pray, learning how to be well as a human, how to have true like leisure, how to cook, things like that, that are important for us to learn that not all of my priest brothers have taken advantage of. And I'm not perfect. I know that. But yeah, there's a lot more than just, okay, go read St. Gregory the Great
Right,
and then
right.
come back as a priest.
Right. Yeah. Thank goodness they do a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so the fishing tournament is the Big Stone City tournament is June 5th. Then there's a second tournament in Pier on June 12th. If you want details or to register for those, you can go to ccfesd.org. We can put that, if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll put that in the comments or in the information below. If you click on the events tab at the website and then go to Bishop's Fishing Tournament, you can find the information there and register. They'll be celebrating Mass with Bishop at both of those events. Prime rib dinner, which would get my husband there all by itself, and he hates fishing. So, of course, fishing and bragging rights for the winning the biggest. I know they have certain trophies or something they give away, and I can't remember what they are.
Biggest, most, I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's like most fish caught, largest fish caught. There's several of them. So
yeah.
Thank you so much, Father Klein, for coming in and hanging out with us today and telling us what's going on with vocations.
Yeah, thanks for helping me do my job.
Yes.
Promoting it.
I feel like we're in good hands with you and with Father Sampson as vocations director right now. I believe that's changing too in July, but we have such good priests around here that we'll be just fine. So thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Renee.
You bet. If you haven't found us already on social media, you can find us at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and at Rumble as well, at SF Diocese. And you can always find us at sfcatholic.org anytime. That's it for us today. Hope you'll join us again next week for more Catholic Views.